The Saints released their first depth chart of the 2026 training camp period, and we're going to go through all of the surprising things that I found on this episode of Saints Now presented by PrizePicks. My name is Trizzy Trace Gerard. Make sure you plug in the promo code HMA when you download the PrizePicks app. New users, if you play $5, you'll get $150 in bonus lineups if you win. Ladies and gentlemen, watch parties are back this weekend with Saints versus Jacksonville Jaguars preseason week 1. We will be live Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Time for our tailgate. We'll have live play-by-play updates and giveaways throughout the game, and then an incredible post-game show as well. So make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications, and join us for 100% free. And RSVP down below by saying, "Who dat?" if you think you're going to join. Now let's go quickly to this friendly reminder here. This is an unofficial depth chart, so things will obviously change. Roster cutdowns have to happen. Trades could go down. The preseason has not even started yet. Injuries could be a factor, so just keep that in mind. A lot could change from here versus when we get to week 1 when the final depth chart is set. Now, the quarterback position, we're going to start offense, then go defense, and then to special teams, but there's no surprises here. Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, Zach Wilson, and Hunter Deckers are going to be your quarterbacks. Obviously, Spencer Rattler has been the better quarterback when it comes to the backup battle, but obviously you also have to consider maybe a trade goes down for a quarterback. Maybe somebody gets cut. Somebody's got to end up on the practice squad. So I think at the end of the day, it's very clear Tyler Shuck is QB1, Spencer Rattler's QB2, Wilson at 3, and Hunter Deckers at 4 makes total sense. The running back room definitely got some upgrades this offseason. Travis Etienne Jr. signed in free agency, but something worth noting here. The Saints had them listed as Travis Etienne or Alvin Kamara. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I think it's interesting because they had Travis Etienne and Alvin Kamara listed as the or designation. To me, that says that this is a real running back tandem. To me, this says this is a real duo, which I expected. I think that's going to be really exciting. But also something I noticed was that Kendre Miller was ahead of everybody else when it comes to the backups behind AK and Etienne. So Kendre Miller and Devin Neal, they're both dealing with injuries during training camp right now. For Kendre specifically, it's a back injury. And for Devin Neal, it's a hamstring injury. So obviously that means Audric Estime is the lone healthy running back behind those guys outside of CJ Donaldson and Ty Chandler. So, I think that that's something that's interesting, that maybe Audric Estime could end up making the roster. He's absolutely been maximizing his opportunities throughout training camp thus far. Now, the tight end room has nothing really too surprising when it comes to that spot. Juwan Johnson is listed as number 1. Noah Fant is your number 2. Oscar Delp is your number 3. But then you have some depth pieces with Maliki Matavao, Zaire Mitchell-Payton, Trayton Welch, and Cody Hardy. Nothing too shocking here. I do expect the New Orleans Saints to evolve their offense around the tight end position. I think a lot of multiple tight end sets will happen. I'll think you're going to be asking these players to be doing a variety of different things and a variety of different roles. And I think that the offense is going to heavily feature the tight end position. I love the addition of Noah Fant. Oscar Delp is a really fascinating developmental piece. You have some talent in that room, so I think that it's going to be really fun to watch the tight ends be utilized with Kellen Moore in year 2 of his system. The wide receiver room is also an area got massive upgrades this offseason. Chris Olave, Jordyn Tyson, Devaughn Vele, those are going to be your starting 3 receivers. No surprises there. But where the things start to get interesting, Barion Brown, Bryce Lance, and Kevin Austin Jr. are listed directly as backups, with Trey Palmer, Jalen Cropper, Ronnie Bell, Bub Means, Mason Tipton, and Brock Rechsteiner being more of those depth pieces. Now, I do got to give a lot of credit to Barion Brown because that's the thing that sticks out to me the most around the wide receiver position. He's much higher than you would expect a rookie 6th-round pick to land, but obviously he's been extremely impactful and has been really impressive through training camp, so shout out to him, and he also is going to find a way to make a really big impact on special teams. Sneak peek into where we're going to be talking a little bit later. Number 19, we're not done discussing him, but we have to also consider Mason Tipton and Bub Means. Both of those players are at the bottom of the roster. I think it's just because there's so much wide receiver talent. The room is so deep, and at the end of the day, Tipton has been a player who's found a way to make the game day roster in week 1, but this year he hasn't been healthy. Bub Means has had some good moments, but he's got to really show out during the joint practices and during the preseason if he wants to end up making the roster. Kevin Austin Jr., I think, is in a prime position to make the 53-man roster for week 1 because he has been impressive when his number's been called. So we're going to have to see what happens with the wide receiver position. And we're going to take a look at the offensive line here in just 1 second. New sponsor alert here at Saints Now. Let me tell you about Courtyard. It's a digital marketplace that lets collectors rip digital packs of real, authentic graded cards. You can head on over to courtyard.io and use promo code HMA at checkout for 15% off. This is actually what it looks like when you open a pack. We're going to do it live together right in this video. Every card, by the way, is PSA graded, CGC, or BGS graded, vaulted at Brinks and insured 24/7, and we're going to check out what my card is here in a moment. But we're also going to be giving away this card for free. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is comment your Courtyard username at the pinned comment of this video, and I'm going to pick a random viewer at the end of the week and send it to you in the app. Let's see what we pulled. Edge rusher Dylan Stewart out of South Carolina. It's actually kind of a fun one for a couple of reasons. One, it's a Bowman first card, meaning it's his first ever trading card. And 2, this could be the player the Saints draft next year. So if you want to check out Courtyard, head over to courtyard.io and use my code HMA at checkout for 15% off. And remember to comment your username to enter the giveaway. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Now let's take a look at the offensive line. I do have a lot of confidence in the starting group as long as they're healthy, and that's a big as long if. David Edwards, excellent addition in free agency. Really, really love that acquisition. He's going to help with the run game. He's going to help protect Tyler Shuck. Eric McCoy, if he can stay healthy, he is one of the best centers in the league. Cesar Ruiz, he's a frustrating player, but he's got a chip on his shoulder, so hopefully he can pan out, because if not, Jeremiah Wright was drafted out of Auburn this year, and he eventually could take over Cesar Ruiz's spot, but I love the tackles in Kelvin Banks and Tyler Fuaga. I think you do have some question marks and some concerns when it comes to the depth, especially considering Torricelli Simpkins is kind of the only option you have at backup center. Cesar Ruiz got some reps there too, but I don't think it's because he's going to be a backup. But one thing that stands out to me is that the Saints kept Dylan Radins on their depth chart. But don't forget, he suffered a season-ending ACL injury during training camp, so he's not a part of the mix. So the offensive line depth, which is already extremely concerning, is even thinner than it was. Dylan Radins is a really important player to the depth of the offensive line. He's kind of that swing guy, was able to play kind of wherever you wanted him to, and losing him is a big loss. Like, he started games. He was able to go out there and perform at least serviceable football whenever his number was called last year. So at the end of the day, the offensive line depth is a little bit concerning for me. Now let's talk about the defensive line. Now we're going to head over to that side of the football. Interesting thing to note here, before we talk about Chase Young or Carl Granderson, on Wednesday, August 12th, the New Orleans Saints signed defensive tackle Khalil Saunders, a player out of Kentucky, spent 5 years with the Wildcats. Nothing super productive, but, that is a new member to this group. But something that sticks out to me here, Vernon Broughton is starting. That checks out. It's what we've seen at training camp thus far. But Chase Young or Carl Granderson, that's a little weird to me. Like, I think across the entire defensive line, you have great depth, you have great options. The interior is a little bit concerning, but the big discrepancy I have here is, why does it say Chase Young or Carl Granderson? There should not be an or next to Chase Young. He's the alpha. He is the perennial edge rusher. The or should be with Carl Granderson and Cam Jordyn. No disrespect to Cam, but Chase Young is not taking snaps off. You're going to have him play, hopefully, 100% of your snaps. Cam Jordyn, on the other hand, played a little over 50 last year. That's why I just think it makes more sense to put him with the or with Carl Granderson. Maybe I'm, putting too much stock into one little word or one little note on the depth chart, but, I just think that was a little bit weird of a takeaway in my personal opinion. But I am worried when it comes to the interior defensive line. There's not a lot of depth there, and you suffered quite a few injuries already. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, when you look at the injuries that the defensive line has suffered already, it's not really settling, because a lot of these these players are interior guys. Xavier Harris and Keyshawn Silver, they've been waived, so they're out of the picture. Brian Brzee suffered a season-ending ACL tear. He's out for the year. Devaughn Godshaw, nursing an ankle injury. John Ridgeway, nursing a back injury. Cam Jordan, he's popped up with the hamstring injury, and he may be missing some time. So those are concerning things around the defensive line. That's already a position group that I wasn't ultra confident in the depth already. Like, I love Chase Young. I think the high-end talent is there. But we're one injury away from really, really being screwed along the defensive line, in my opinion. So hopefully this is a position group that may see some upgrades when roster cutdowns and trades end up going down. Let's go to the linebacker position now. I think this is a good squad. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the strength of the defense, but I think that this is an underrated group of players. Caden Ellis, Pete Werner, those are going to be your starting guys. You got Danny Stutzman, Jalen Ford, Chris Rumpf, and Isaiah Stallbird in the mix. You signed Deion Jones recently, so welcome home, Debo. Jack Sermon is also in the mix. I think it's interesting that Chris Rumpf has been working with the linebackers. That's kind of cool if you ask me. He was an edge rusher, now been working with the linebacker position. But for Pete Werner, I think it's weird, not weird, but something I'm noticing. He's still listed as a starter. Danny Stutzman has been getting a lot of first-team reps. So I think that right now, if you were to make the roster today, it would be fair to say that Pete Werner is going to be the starter, Danny Stutzman would be the backup, but I think that there's still quite a bit of time that has to pass before we see whether or not Stutzman is going to be the starter. I could see that being the case. He's been getting a lot of opportunities at training camp. The defensive coaching staff very clearly high on him, so we'll have to ultimately see what happens when it comes to Danny Stutzman and Pete Werner. I think that Werner needs to either step up or he might be getting pushed out of New Orleans. Now, we got some more positions to discuss, the cornerbacks, the safeties, and special teams. But first, we also got to tell you about Prize Picks. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to win money watching your favorite teams, your favorite players, and your favorite sports, then Prize Picks is the place to do that. Plug in promo code HMA. New users, you play $5, you get $150 in bonus lineups if you win. So shout out to Prize Picks, where it's always good to be right. Put your ball knowledge to the test, whether you're tuning into football, basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, tennis, esports, racing, lacrosse, darts, cricket. I mean, the possibilities are endless to cash in on Prize Picks. College football is almost back. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're excited to watch Lane Kiffin, Sam Leavitt, and the LSU Tigers go light it up this year. I put a couple LSU players down on my college football season-long projection. I'm confident in this lineup. That's why I put $20 down, and you can do the same over on Prize Picks. Just make sure when you download the app, you use our promo code HMA. That way they know that I sent you. New users, we got a sweet deal for you. If you play $5, you get $150 in bonus lineups if you win when you use that promo code HMA. Click the link down in the comments or description of this video to get started today. And as always, shout out to Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, before we get into the defensive back room, I want to just have a conversation about what my expectations are, because the cornerbacks specifically are a group of young, talented players that I think we need to have a little bit of patience with. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, don't expect Quincy Riley to go out there and be a lockdown corner. Martin Emerson Jr., he's still coming back from injury. Have some patience there. Kool-Aid McKinstry, he finished the year really, really hot. But the expectations for him are really, really high this going into the season, as they should be. Jonas Sanker in a new spot in the star. He is also in a different role. That is an expectation that I have very high, but I also want to try to temper it and make sure I'm realistic with it. But something that sticks out here, Jaden Price is ahead of Lorenzo Styles when it comes to the star role. And I think it's also fascinating to learn that on Wednesday, he was actually taking first-team reps at the star role. And I think that's just more so he can get, those reps if Jonas Sanker gets hurt or if they have, something happen, who's going to step up. But he's been a star. I mean, he has been really, really good. Kellen Moore is saying it seems like he just keeps coming up and making a play. And he's earning more reps. Kellen Moore praised a lot of that about him, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jaden Price making the roster, not just impacting the defense, but also special teams as well. Let's go to the safety room. I think that this is an area that if they stay healthy, we're good. If an injury settles in, I am hitting the panic alarm. Justin Reed, Julian Blackman, Terrell Burgess, Elliott Davison, Jordan Howden, and of course you got Reed as well. I think that it is a good group. I don't think there's any really big shockers here, so that's why we're not going to spend too much time. I am excited about Justin Reed. I think that he's going to be a fun player to watch this year. Love the duo of him and Julian Blackman, but again, They just got to stay healthy, and otherwise I'm a little bit nervous here. But you cannot have a conversation around the Saints if you don't talk about special teams as well. For the kicker position, it is listed as Charlie Smith or Tanner Brown. Ryan Wright is the lone punter in New Orleans. Zach Wood is the lone long snapper. But for punt return, you got Barion Brown, Trey Palmer, and Jordyn Price in the mix. And kick return, remember, you have 2 kick returners on the field with these new rules. So Barion Brown, Ty Chandler, Bryce Lance are listed on the Saints depth chart. Worth noting, too, Kendre Miller has gotten reps there. For the punt return, I think it's interesting that you're not seeing one specific name I'm going to talk about in a moment, but the kicker battle is what I want to focus on first. This is a very, very close competition, but not in the best way. It's been sort of underwhelming. I mean, both kickers kind of floating at high 70, low 80 percentage when it comes to their, kicks versus misses and their attempts versus misses. Like, it could be better, just calling a spade here. But something that's also interesting is that Jordyn Tyson was not actually listed with the punt returners. And that's something that has been going on during training camp. He's been getting work with the punt return unit throughout summer. And I think that that's interesting, that maybe it was just to give him some reps, work on the hands. I don't know what the magic or the philosophy behind it is, but I can tell you he has been working with the special teams unit. So the fact that he wasn't listed on the depth chart to me is at least a little bit of a reason to perk my ears up. I don't know necessarily why, but at the end of the day, it is certainly unique to say the least. Now, I got a question for you, Saints fans. We are going to finish our video off with a look ahead at the preseason. Week 1, Saturday, Saints versus Jaguars. Who ya got? I want to hear from you, Saints fans. Down in the comment section, type NO if you got the New Orleans Saints winning. Type JAC if you got the Jacksonville Jaguars winning this matchup. I want to hear from you, Who Dat Nation. Sound off in the comment section and let me know if you're going to be tuning in on game day. My name is Trace Gerard. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on this episode of Saints Now. Depth chart, definitely a few surprises to it and definitely a few unique things to look at. But again, it's the unofficial depth chart. Things will change, so we'll have to ultimately see what happens. But don't forget to subscribe, turn on those notifications, and y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.